Hello there. It is Linda Stacy of Living Blueprints, and tonight I am going to do part two of this commuter series. Someone asked me a couple of questions about a couple of the things that I talked about, so I'm going to talk about gloves and shoes, and then I'm also going to talk about what we do during the commute, during the ride, whether you're in a car or a train, subway, whatever it is. So again, if you're watching this on YouTube, I would love it if you would subscribe to the channel. That helps to enhance, the algorithm and other people can find it. But also once I hit a certain number of users, I can actually claim the /living blueprints after youtube.com. So I think that would be really cool to do and be easier to share. So the first thing is talking about these gloves, which I absolutely love. These are gloves that allow me to be outside and use my phone without taking the glove off. And I got a pair of these maybe 2 or 3 Christmases ago, and they are fantastic. However, I have really large hands, which people don't seem to realize because I'm not that tall, but I'm a lot thicker, as they say, as I look. But anyway, my hands are huge, and my mother-in-law got me these gloves, and she got me like the small medium. So anyway, they're ripped right here, and I have really used them to death, and my fingers really go down to here. But anyway, in the process of looking up the name of these things, which are isotoner gloves, believe it or not, I ordered myself a new pair. So these were just under $40. And they are isotoner, and they have pads, or they've got leather on these 2 fingers, but I can actually use my phone really well without taking the glove off. They are fantastic, and I will put the link again in the comments, but it's in the last one I did too. But they are isotoner women's classic stretch leather touchstring cold weather fleece lining gloves. They are fantastic. Again, I can have them on and use my phone because sometimes you need to use your phone when you're still standing outside. So I was also going to talk about shoes, and I have to ask if anyone watches this and knows anything about Bean boots, the boots that LL Bean makes that, are kind of they're cute-ish, rain/snow shoes. If you have them, I'd be curious to know if you think they're comfortable enough that you would walk a mile in them. Would you do that by choice, or would you choose a different shoe? I kind of want to know. They don't look that comfortable to me. I've heard that you can get them lined with fleece and other awesome things, which sounds fantastic, but they just don't look that comfortable. So I mentioned in the last one that these days it's kind of cool that there are cool-ish sneakers out there now. Footwear has gotten more fun and interesting, so I don't look like a freak when I'm wearing my sneakers with my work pants. At least I don't think I do, or maybe I don't care as much. But I have a few different ones that I wear. These are some go-tos, which probably could be washed, but just a very, very lightweight white sneaker that I could wear with just about anything and year round. I wear it in the summer and in the winter. One thing also for the East or West Coast people, because one woman did share that she's going to be moving to the East Coast like I did. We don't have snow on the ground all the time. This is something my sister-in-law realized only recently. She kind of thought that once it's winter, there's snow on the ground all the time. There really isn't. So every, 5 different days of the week, I could be wearing 5 different shoes depending on what's going on outside. Another misnomer, another friend from California thought that maybe the roads were icy all the time, that was an issue. And it really isn't. I mean, there might be 2 or 3 days of the year where I have to be really concerned about an icy sidewalk or icy walking conditions. It depends on where you live. I have seen people fall on the street outside of Davis Square, like in Somerville, because people aren't shoveling their sidewalks and then it freezes over. I don't live in an area like that anymore, thank goodness. And usually the train station is pretty well treated and salted, but I have fallen on my butt in the middle of the street in Cambridge because the roads were just super icy. But again, it only happens twice a year. And the key is having a rubber sole, right? And this shoe has a rubber sole. This probably is what I'd wear if it's super, super cold like that. But anyway, and I have other, I'll wear these sometimes. They're more bright and colorful. They didn't have these back in the day. They're so much lighter than sneakers and tennis shoes used to be. And then also sometimes I will wear these are kind of back to my California roots. These kind of feel a little bit more like Vans or something. And they're actually not as comfortable though as the ones I just showed. So these are kind of all year round as long as there's no snow and not a ton of rain. I will wear sneakers in the rain though. I do have my rain boot, which I don't love these. These are not comfortable for long walking. I mean, if you have to walk more than a few feet, they're no fun. They're fine to run into the grocery store and stuff, but they're just not made for walking. Again, if people have good recommendations for comfortable rain gear shoes, let me know. These kind of suck. I don't care for them that much. I got them at REI's garage sale once for very low money. I should probably throw them out. And then other types of things. If it really is snowing out, like really active snow, and it's going to collect through the course of the day, I will wear these Sorel boots. And they're kind of cool because they just have the zipper, which is fantastic. And they're easy to get on and off. They're really great if you're going to be trudging around in the snow. They're great for shoveling driveways and doing all that kind of thing. So there was something else I was going to say about these. Oh, not comfortable to walk in, but I will deal with it on my way into the office. One of my coworkers actually has these cool things. I should have looked them up. They're wear them in Alaska all the time. I don't know what their name is. Maybe someone knows what they are or what they're called. You can wear your regular shoe underneath it, and it will go all the way up to right below your knee, and kind of keeps you completely protected, your pant leg protected, and your shoe, your normal shoe protected. And those are fantastic. I do think they're pretty expensive, and but again, you could get a lot of use out of it. Another thing, when you're not from the area and you're wearing your nice work pants and you don't know any better, your pants are going to get like salty stains on them, you know, like because there's just a lot of stuff in the road that you're picking up when your pants get wet if they're dragging at all in the conditions. So anything that you can tuck your pants into, and then you look really cool, really swell, especially like when they kind of puff out around the sides. But then it's not really a beauty contest at that point. No one's really paying attention. They're just trying to get where they're going. And then I also included a shoe that I will wear sometimes in the summer, and this is a how come I can't think of the name of it right now? The teaks. These are pretty, they're, you know, it's a flat, like a ballet flat, but this pad on the bottom, they're extremely well padded so that if I am walking on the brick or the stone, Nathaniel Hall, it's not as much shock. These though do cut me kind of in a bad part of my of my kind of where you would get at, I don't know what they're called. Is it hammer toe? No, whatever those things. Bunions. I don't really have bunions, but it kind of rubs right there. So I'm kind of irritated with these shoes. And I want to try those other ones that you can wash and wear. And again, I'm forgetting their name right now, but these are good for summer. Wearing flip-flops in the summer, I don't recommend. I had a friend break her ankle really badly by wearing flip-flops in stone. If it's going to rain, you're done with flip-flops because they're so slippery and slidey, you can't walk. So flip-flops are completely out of the question for me in the summertime, and tons of people wear them downtown. And I feel like they're just going to cause themselves trouble in the long run because there's no support. And again, if there's any kind of conditions, and the roads are just so bad in Boston for walkers, for, you know, people walking on the street. So that was a little bit I wanted to share about more of my gear. Again, the rest of the gear is in the first video. And also, you know, my shoes at work is where like my nice shoes are, right? They're underneath my desk. I have probably, I don't know, 10 pair under there. I have weeded them out recently. And then every once in a while, there'll be some new pair that I want to bring, and I do, and I will suffer. And again, this is the backpack I showed last time. The shoes will fit in the front section here pretty nicely. It just increases the weight on my back, but they fit in there just fine. So I will bring shoes back and forth, but most of them are waiting for me in the office, and that's when I'll wear whatever I want in terms of shoes. But then, you know, what do you do on the way? And for me, I'm sitting on a train that is pretty controlled environment. I get on it early enough that I can actually open my computer and use it. I have a wireless card in my computer, so that's pretty cool. And I work on various things as it relates to my business, Living Blueprints. And sometimes on the computer, sometimes I'm taking notes, sometimes I'm reading things. So you do have a lot of flexibility when you're on the train. You don't, though, have control over how crowded it can be. If someone next to you is doing something really annoying, the two probably most annoying things I'd say were the nail clipping and the flossing of the teeth. Those are probably like the most irritating. And then you'll have the people that never ride the train and like kind of don't know the etiquette, so they're just doing weird things. I had very drunk people next to me, you know, because there was a parade that day, and they kind of feel weird that they're talking to me, and then they're making it very awkward. So there are lots of things you don't control in that environment, but most of the time I can get work done, which is fantastic. When you're in your car, you can control the temperature, you can control what you listen to, but you can't control the exterior environment, right? You've got all the traffic and everything else that you're dealing with. Also, when you're in a car, you don't have to worry about that schedule, that train schedule on the commuter rail. You know, it only comes certain times, and at night, you know, I don't want to be in the city past like 7:10, because if I begin to miss trains, I'm not going to be home until like 9:30 or 10. So it really gets, you got to catch that train, and it makes the end of the day kind of stressful, so you get out of the office on time. So these are some of the give and takes of the various types of things. But then when you're in the car or on the train, when I'm walking from the office to the train, again, it's about a 15-minute walk. That is my podcast time. And sometimes I'm listening to podcasts for inspiration and new ideas. And other times I'm listening for entertainment. When it first started, I was listening to Dave Ramsey all the time because my husband and I were like on this new financial like path to, we wanted to get rid of debt. We wanted to create some cool goals for ourselves. So I was listening to a lot of his podcasts, taught me a lot of things. It was entertaining at the same time, and I could zone out, and that was fine. But now it's really morphed. So sometimes I'll listen to business related, entrepreneurial related, just inspirational, different like gurus I like to listen to, various spiritual people I like to listen to. And if you don't have any ideas, I've seen people post online a couple times, like what podcasts are people listening to? And usually one starts leading to another. And something I've done recently, if there's like an author or guru or someone who I'm kind of like interested in, I'm just going to use Tony Robbins, that's his name, right? Yeah, Tony Robbins is an example. He's not the person that I'd be doing this with. But if you really wanted to hear Tony Robbins again and again, you can actually go into these apps. I use Stitcher, but I guess, I don't know what it's, Apple, has all of the podcasts. All the podcasts are on all of the apps, right? They usually are on more than one app. So you can go in there and you can actually search by episode, not just by podcaster or podcast name. So I go in there and I search by episode for Tony Robbins, and I see all the podcasts that he's spoken on. So it's interesting because different podcasters will do like slightly different takes. Like, if you've got a podcaster that's entrepreneurial, if you've got a podcaster that's corporate, whatever it is. And that introduces me to new podcasters too, because I kind of like this podcast. I might listen to it again. So it's been an interesting thing. There's another woman I've been following, Julia Cameron, who wrote The Artist's Way, and I've been kind of following some of her processes and practices. So I've been listening to her on any podcast I can find her on because I just love hearing her talk. She's just so like mellow. She's almost 80, and she just has this wonderful presence. So I like listening to her. Anyway, that's kind of a thing with podcasts. We also discovered this weekend a detective story podcast. This one is what's it called? Small Town Dicks is the name of it, and Yardley Smith, who is the voice of Maggie on The Simpsons, is on it with her now fiance, who is a detective, and then his brother, who's another detective, and they talk about real crime stories, and it's really interesting because they have the detectives tell the story and how it rolled out. So totally different, very entertaining, and very kind of gripping. But it's cool because I actually look forward to the walk. And I used to hate the walk, mostly because, I'm usually dealing with weather, and it's almost like a commute walk. In the summertime, I'm dodging tourists in the middle of Faneuil Hall and other things. And so often and for many years, I did not enjoy the walk, but now it's like an opportunity for either entertainment or enlightenment. And I think it's the same thing when you're driving now. The driving can be a very different experience than it was back in the day, and the only thing you had available was radio with music or talk radio or something like that. So get them queued up before you get in the car. And I think too, when the car, you gotta have your beverage, right? Be sure that you're giving yourself that buffer and that you've got the coffee or the shake or the water or whatever it is, because ultimately it's all about our biology. And if we can keep ourselves somewhat sane and comfortable, we can arrive in the office a much better state of things. We cannot control the traffic or the train schedule or how cold it is outside or all of these things, but we can control that we've actually put ourselves together in the way we want to present ourselves when we actually get to work. And I was not good at this for so many years, and things have really changed. And another thing I will mention too is that if you eat lunch at noon or 1, and then you don't get home until kind of late, and a lot of places people don't get home until 7 or close to 7, especially if you're on the West Coast, or me, I get home at about 6:30. If I don't eat, that's just a recipe for disaster and really hangry Linda when she gets home. And it is true that when we don't have food in our system, we actually become less charitable. Our brains go into retreat and back to our lizard brains, and we really feel like we're in a threatened environment, and we become less charitable. That means we are technically meaner probably to the people that we're around. I don't want to be around myself usually. And I enjoy a cocktail and a drink, but I don't want to rely on that every night. I don't want to rely on, I need a sip of wine in order to be home. And for me, really just even just an apple, you know, like 4:30 or 5 can make the big difference. When I was first discovering how important this was, I was bringing in that my thermos mug, and I would, at the end of the day, I would do a mix of like sugar-free hot chocolate with coffee or decaf coffee, and I would kind of sip that on the way home, and it would kind of keep me, it was enough. I think there were some calories in that, so it kind of kept me going. But now, usually an apple or an orange, or if I've had a bigger lunch, I'm usually okay. But definitely support yourself. Feed yourself. It's so important. Anyway, I'm curious to know what other things you guys might do when you're commuting that kind of keeps you sane, you know? If you've got long car rides with people, this might be a different type of thing where you're going on vacation, or you're driving up north to ski for the weekend or something like that. Reading can be a really fun thing to do. You can get little car lights or, you know, reading book lights. And if you and your spouse or whoever you're driving with, your family, you could probably find a story that everyone would be entertained by. And it really is a totally different experience of getting somewhere. It's very cool. I recommend just trying that, experimenting that. So if you've been inspired by anything here, I'd love for you to think about, you know, a takeaway or something you might tweak or do differently. And then, of course, if you're willing to share it, that'd be fantastic. So if any insight might actually get to some kind of shift to allow you to be more ready and awesome when wherever you're going, that's what this is all about. So tomorrow night, I'm going to talk about the final chapter of the book, which Optimized You, which is all about marathons and kind of these times in your life where things just kind of suck for a really long period of time. Maybe suck isn't the only way of saying that, but just, you know, going through some really long transition, just got married, just got divorced, had a baby, you know, these types of things that are just like, oh my God, this major new transition and way of being in your life. So that's what the next chapter is on. So I'll be talking about that tomorrow night, and it will be at 7 p.m. And then next week, I'm going to start getting into some other interesting stuff as it relates to, again, how we show up in the world and how we can have more satisfaction and make everything just, you know, more like what we want it to be. How do we get out of our own way? How do we optimize? And again, if you're watching on YouTube, I would love it if you would subscribe to the channel so that I can have that URL /livingblueprints after the youtube.com. And that would be fantastic. And I hope you have a great rest of the week. Bye-bye.